Boom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is the vision for DIMO project, which is captivating an exploration of technology, cryptocurrency, and the future of mobility. So let's get this show started. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life: prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone, because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Bros. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we have an innovative and forward-thinking guest joining us. He's a passionate advocate for pushing the boundaries of technology to create a better world. He's currently leading a fascinating project on the realm of virtual currency and cryptocurrency that is set to transform the future of mobility. So during our conversation today, we're going to dive into the world of open source platforms, user-owned digital ecosystems, and the power of real driver data. So get ready to explore the future where driving apps work for vehicle owners, not just the companies that build them. So not just the companies that build them. Sorry about that. Stay tuned. We got a great show for you guys. Let's welcome to the show, Mr. Alex Rawitz.
So excited to be here.
Dude, I don't know what's up. My video clips are like lagging a little bit today, but it's all right. We got this one. Welcome to the show today, Alex.
Thank you so much. I am really excited.
All right, dude, let's do this thing. I want to jump into the first question for you, which is always
Sure.
the one that is everybody kind of wants to throw it under the rug a little bit, but it's the truth. Everybody's here because they're marketing something. There's a project, there's something that you're working on that you want to get out into the public. What is that?
Well, I'm the co-founder of a project called DIMO, and we're actually doing a couple things under the umbrella of this project. So one, we're building a developer platform for vehicles, and we can talk a lot more about that, what that means. But two, and really what most people experience when they Google DIMO or when they want to kind of get involved and see what it is that we're building, is we built the first neutral connected vehicle application. So no matter what kind of car you have, whether it's a Ford or a Toyota or a Tesla, you can connect your car to DIMO. You can see a bunch of data and information about your car, access things like maintenance and financing services. And basically, you have this companion in your pocket that's a super smart app that tells you how to be a better car owner.
All right, so let's talk about who we're going after, because I figure based on that description, it's everybody who owns a vehicle, right? So anybody who owns a vehicle who's on the road for whatever reason, they're the ones that you want to target with this particular app, this particular program. So I'm going to ask you, like,
Yeah.
Does this have to be every vehicle? So like if I go to a car that's like a 1962 whatever, like does it work with that as well?
It's a great question. And, vehicles are a really interesting time. So for 100 years, cars have been, what you would call a dumb piece of technology. It's not connected to the internet. But in the last about 5 years, and it varies, each car maker has been a little bit different, but roughly the last 5 years, there's been a huge transition that's starting, which is every new car that's made is connected. So the data goes back to Toyota or Ford. They give you an app with the car. I mean, people never got apps with your car until a few years ago, but now if you buy a new car, you're guaranteed to get one. So what we're seeing is at the cusp of this big transition, when there's, everyone is experiencing what it means to have a connected car, there needs to be more consumer choice. You can't connect a car from 1962. There weren't any computers actually built into the car back then. But starting in about the late 1990s, around 1996, all of the computers within a car started to get hooked up to a single port called the OBD2 port. And basically any car from then on can get connected. Now we're building a better experience for cars in the 2000s and newer. But in terms of who we're building this for, like really this will eventually be for every driver. It's today much more focused on kind of early adopters, but this is a way to take your, maybe your dumb car that's a little bit older and get it smart, get it connected, or a car that you have today, let's say that you really, really love, but maybe the application isn't so good. You can get an app that you love to go along with it.
Now you said it was a neutral app, right? And
Yeah.
I know in doing a little bit of homework when I was looking into some electric vehicles, I was looking at Teslas
Yep.
and comparing that to some of the other electric vehicles. And one of the advantages that Tesla has is they have all the intellectual property and all the patents for all of the components in their vehicles. And what I didn't know was that other car makers don't. And the reason why they struggle with connecting, your phone to the car to all this stuff is because every single part is different from different
Yeah.
retailers, different makers. So there is no like one easily connected thing, but your app is kind of bringing all that together. It's a neutral app. Can you kind of
Yeah.
walk me through how important that is when you're talking about multiple cars with multiple vendors and multiple parts?
Yeah, and honestly, like even if there's a couple ways to take it. I'll take it just from the like average person's experience. The average car or the average household in America has 2.3 cars. And more than likely, I think on 9 out of 10 of those households, it's two different car makes, meaning it's from two different manufacturers. So you might have a Nissan and a Tesla or a Honda and a Ford. The average house just like has two different cars. And today, that means you're going to have two different apps. One app might let you unlock the doors, the other one might not. One might be really good, the other one might not. And we think it's really important that like people are going to want to have a single application where they can control both of their cars and keep tabs on it. In terms of the neutrality that you're talking about, like under the hood, it's a really fascinating aspect of the auto industry that so many car makers get all of their components from what they call these tier one manufacturers. And this kind of comes down to one of the things that we think should be more visible to the average driver. You should know if a certain component is going wrong or needs to be serviced. You should have a little bit more visibility and transparency into like what is the history of that component. If you want it, maybe you just want to get it fixed and pay someone to solve your problem, but you should be able to at least see what exactly is going wrong and have some understanding. Under the hood, what's going on, and I think that kind of elucidating that, making that more apparent for consumers is something that most people are really going to like.
Yeah, I'm sure people got tired of changing their headlight fluid without even knowing that it wasn't a thing, right? So, let me ask you about your educational background.
Sure.
There are a lot of these kids that are going to graduate right now, and I know there's a big shift in what we call education. The formal one is
Hmm.
probably much more expensive for a lot of these kids to go to today, but it doesn't change the fact that learning has to happen. What's your educational journey like to get you to where you are today?
It's really interesting. So I went to college for history, and I knew I was always going to be an entrepreneur. I knew I was always interested in technology, and I took some entrepreneurship classes, but I realized that I actually was learning a lot more and having a hand in running some businesses outside of the classroom. So pretty early on, I got involved in some student-run businesses on campus. Um, Simple stuff, running a moving company, or um, uh, they also ran the college yearbook, and so like I was hands on, like running and operating in businesses, like almost my entire career. And even before that, I was doing kind of like local kid entrepreneurship stuff. I think that there's like really no supplement for hands-on learning and just being forced to go figure out problems. And I think that most people would be surprised at like how easy it is to try and find those businesses and those opportunities. I mean, most businesses are just like so desperate to find somebody young and hungry who wants to learn and like contribute. And getting that kind of hands-on experience doesn't replace anything that you can get out of the classroom.
All right. You were obviously probably not going to be a high school teacher teaching history, even though you were going to get your degree in history. And you
Hmm.
said that you're going to be you knew you were going to be an entrepreneur probably since you were a kid. When did you actually make that shift and it became the way you generated your income versus kind of a thing that's on the side?
Yeah. So after I graduated, I spent about almost 10 years working in and around startups. So I worked for a bunch of startups. Some people just like have that inspiration. They know exactly the kind of business they want to run and all that stuff from maybe a young age. I wasn't sure. I just kind of felt like I needed to be exposed to a bunch of technology, different kinds of businesses, meet with a lot of different people, understand even what kind of role I wanted to have. Did I want to be more on product? Did I want to be more on sales? Uh, you know, Technology. so for me, it was really just kind of about learning and soaking up experiences, but just doing that through work and doing that through as many different roles as I could have. I would say that by the time, it was really kind of as I was nearing the 10-year mark in my career where I was like, okay, this feels like the right time. I think I have enough experience now for me to go and start something. Um, and it kind of just started to come together. Once I knew that that was on the table, I started to seek out the friends that I might start a business with, and the rest is history from there.
Let me ask you about your mistakes, dude, because I don't think there's ever an entrepreneur that goes in thinking they got all the answers and then like hits the jackpot and literally like scores, never makes a mistake, and is a winner all the way through. We like to think we are, but we always make some of those big mistakes. What were some of the ones you made early on that kind of shaped maybe the way you do business, or a lesson that you learned for sure?
Yeah, I mean, mistakes, it's lots of people say this. It's really all about how you learn from them and come back from them over, the particular ones that you make. I think that most common mistake for any first time founder is just like the sheer ambition. You're convinced of how much you're going to get done in 3 months, 6 months, a year, and then you look back and you realize like, okay, it's a lot harder when you're still building the team and laying the foundation, and there's a lot of work to do there in order to get things right. I think some of the other mistakes, that become really hard, and especially as you start to hire, is, and a lot of people will tell you this too, is building the team has to be done very carefully and slowly. And you as a founder are always going to be the most passionate about your business. And no matter how great you are at inspiring others, there's always a little bit of a difference between, you as the person who started the business and the people who you hire. And there's no substitute for just being as careful as you can with the people that you want to bring onto the team to represent your brand, to go out there and help make the business successful. It's almost better to wait, versus hiring somebody who's 90% of a fit. You really need that 100% fit for anyone that you're going to bring onto the team.
Dude, it's funny because I know early on in my career, I always ended up hiring like family or friends, and kind of making that mistake. Not because they're bad, it's just that oftentimes you kind of outgrow them pretty quickly because they're there to kind of back you up and help you kind of go through this stuff. But they're not as dedicated as some of the professionals that you might pick later down the road. Um, and you hear it often, hire slow, fire fast,
Yep.
but it's not always the easiest bit of advice to take. After you've had experience doing this for a while, what's some advice that you'd give to young entrepreneurs getting started, whether it's on the hiring space or maybe something else that you learned that might help them if they're getting started today?
Anyone who's getting started today, I mean, this is, yeah, just start shipping stuff, just start moving. Like, that's going to be the most important thing. I've worked with a ton of entrepreneurs too. I worked at a startup accelerator for a little while, and I think that the one of the worst habits you can have is being a little bit fearful to like start selling, or like, oh well, the idea is not finished yet, or I don't have all the pieces in place. You just got to start selling your stuff and putting it out in the world and start learning as quickly as you can. That's number one. And then number two is that, like, whatever vision you think you have, it's going to evolve and change. So don't be scared of new ideas as they come up in your process. Don't be scared of, hey, well, now the business is going a little bit of a different direction. I mean, DIMO itself, we had a pretty major pivot within the first 5-6 months that we were working on it, and it is for the best. Like, it definitely turned out way better. And I think it's really hard to figure out, like, hey, is this a full-on pivot we should do, or are we giving up? But generally you'll find that there's a little bit of you can test that by just talking to other people and seeing their level of excitement, and you can go and pitch your new idea to somebody else, and if they get some really excited, you might be onto something.
I'm a fan of case studies, like these stories that kind of connect us to the projects, because you're making a change in someone's life. Essentially,
Yeah.
it's what you're doing, and we kind of tend to overlook that, especially when we're talking about data. You're like, oh, it's just collecting data and stuff, but you're making the big differences in people's lives. Can you share any of those case studies that kind of grasp what your company is doing really well?
Yeah. I'll talk very briefly on data, because it's been this obviously very hot topic in the entrepreneurship space for years. And, you go back a decade or maybe even two at this point, and data is the new oil. Everyone wants data. And the reality is Companies have been very bad at using data. And if you talk to the average person and you said, hey, do you want to be in control of your data? They'd say, that sounds a little complicated. Like, I got a lot of stuff going on. Like, you're asking me to like become a data expert. Like, that's just not. And so for us, we're all about like trying to showcase how you as a user can use your data in very simple, meaningful ways. And so the best example that we're in the process of deploying right now is that a user would be able to scan their car for error codes and see, all right, there's an error code with my airflow intake or whatever it is, and actually send that error code data directly to a repair shop. Skip the diagnosis, skip the like, oh, I'm paying for a consultation. Like, you as a user are now in control of that piece of information. Send it over to a repair shop, get an instant quote, go in and get your car fixed. And I think that when we talk about data ownership, it's a huge buzzword in the tech industry today, data ownership. What it's really going to come down to making that a thing is, can we make these types of little use cases successful for individuals, many times over, because no one wants to sit around and maintain their own database in a closet or something with all of their personal data. They just want to be able to use that to make, get things done in their life.
I can barely file my paperwork in my Dropbox, much less trying to archive data. I mean, that can get a little bit tough. And I'm like, we're in a math class. A lot of these kids are looking at statistics like, no, that's not something I want to deal with all the time. But if you can make it user friendly, that's kind of the key, right? It's helping you when you need things helped. I know. Maybe it's a generational thing. Maybe things are shifting, but a lot of these kids are like, I'm not even going to buy a car. Like, I don't even want to get my driver's license. It's a whole different world that we're kind of growing up in. So some of the things like car maintenance and understanding the features of the vehicle that you're driving, they're getting lost in the fact that I could just take an Uber and not have to worry or think about that sort of stuff. So what sets DIMO apart from all the other apps that are out there trying to develop and kind of help the consumer? Why DIMO? If I'm going to download an app, what makes you guys so amazing? What's that thing that differentiates you?
So not only are we building our own mobile application, but we're doing something really unique, which is we're also helping to create what we call an app store for cars. So, I gave this really, simple example where I could share, say, error code information, what's wrong with the car, with a mechanic, boom, instantly, like more streamlined experience. We want to be able to do that for every single part of the life cycle of your car. So maintenance is one example, but most people are financing their vehicle. Like, you could probably share some data back with the bank or financing partner and you get a discount. People have been doing that with insurance for years. You might be able to plug in and use social applications, car clubs that are built now digitally on top of the DIMO platform. So we're trying not just to be like, hey, here's some information about your car, which you could get from Toyota or get from Ford, although we do it better, but actually a link out to all of these services that you are now connected to digitally. One thing people don't realize is that the automotive industry, not very digitally savvy. And we can start to create the pipes and the rails that unite the auto industry, so that anyone can access, let's say, a place to sell your car instantly from our app, access, let's say, an electric vehicle charging network. All of those things should be digitally accessible from a single place. And that's what we're building.
Dude, I love that, because at the end of the day, if I walked into an AutoZone, I'm not a car guy, dude. I don't know what the heck is anything. I don't know what the numbers mean or nothing. But if you had it on my app and it already sent it to AutoZone, I just had to go and pick it up, or even better, get it delivered. That would save so much time and energy. I'd imagine mechanics they'll be ecstatic. They're like, what? Here's the diagnosis. Here's the part. All I got to do is the install. I mean, how many cars can you go through if you already have everything there? You don't got to wait 3 or 4 days for delivery time.
The other cool thing is that mechanics have been looking for a way to have a better connection to their customer for years. And, like they've wanted a way to digitally market to consumers, but like, who wants to get an email from their mechanic that says, hey, do you have any problems? Like, let us know. In this case, you as a mechanic could know exactly when there's an issue with the user's car. You could see the data, presuming the user wants to share it with them, but then you can actually have a dialogue. I mean, you don't have to just like wait until there's a problem. You might be able to even be proactive and have the mechanic help you out like before a problem starts. So the really nice part about what we're doing is not just trying to create a consumer experience, but also help other businesses be successful through the DIMO platform.
Yeah, it's gonna scale for sure when you have those other options that are there. What do you think you guys are kind of focusing your attention right now to kind of improve that customer experience? I feel like a company does really well with something, and then of course they want to get more efficient or they want to add
Yeah.
another product line. And you guys talked about leveling up on the apps and different stuff like that. But
Yep.
what's your key focus right now to kind of bring that user experience to make it better for that end consumer?
Yeah, it's really two things right now. One is on that end that we've been talking about, where there's like more things to connect to, and that's something that I work on very closely with my team. Speaking with more repair companies, speaking with more marketplaces where if you want to buy, let's say, car parts, like you used in the example, making sure that somebody who's fully connected, streaming their own car data, they have all these options to be a better owner. The other side of what we're doing is making it easier, and this is something that like is a really kind of interesting point for entrepreneurship more broadly. How do you make it easier for somebody to be your customer? So today, somebody has to go and get their car fully connected and then start using our app. We're trying to find some softer landing point places for users where you can get maybe partially connected. We can give you a little bit of information and start building a relationship with our customer before we have them all the way in what we consider the converted state. Um, we've realized that once people are sold on the idea of DIMO, they love it and they're really excited. But getting them from I don't know what DIMO is to I'm all the way in. There's more that we can do in that part of the funnel to like get more users adopting the product.
Dude, there's a whole generation of I'm scared of Big Brother out there. You're gonna track me everywhere I go. I mean, you're already doing that with your phone, so it's not really a big deal. But
People are already doing it with their phone. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So this kind of helps to kind of at least you're tracking stuff that's kind of relevant. And I like the idea of having it as far as a maintenance person. I mean, if I go take my car in and they're like, hey, if we want to prevent stuff in the future, let me upload this. Let me hook you up to DIMO, and then from here on out, I'll let you know when things are off, when things are different. You'll get a notification from me. You get an
Yep.
alert. Like it's got to come from that trusted source so that it kind of gets built in. Because people like me, I'm like, what do you mean I'm gonna do I just download the app and that's it? No, I think there's a little more to it, and you're gonna need that professional kind of back you to get there. Where do you see the vision of your company going from here? I mean, you've launched, you're getting
Mhm.
mechanics to jump on board, you're looking for different add-on apps to go on along with it. Where do you see it going?
Yeah. Today we have about 25,000 cars connected to DIMO across the US, Canada, and actually a bunch of countries in Europe as well. Over the next 5 years, we will see that become tens of millions of vehicles. We want to build basically the premier application for any vehicle owner. So Toyota might give you their app, Ford might give you their app, but you're going to want to download DIMO. It's sort of like Apple Music might come on your phone, your iPhone, but like you want to go and use Spotify. And we really are going to build the one-stop destination for any car owner to get anything done that they need around their vehicle, whether that's maintenance, kind of utilities, or having fun and sharing social aspects about where you've driven and trips you've taken and things like that.
Dude, I can imagine it's already going to be preloaded on a lot of these cars at some point in the future.
That is
That
also
would be
one of the
dope.
dreams. Yes.
That would be dope. That would be dope. I mean, that'd take you to a whole new level there. All right. Well, if people do want to find out more, they're like, look, this is something I'm definitely interested in. My car's not super smart. I'd like it to get a little bit more of an IQ bump. How can they do that?
There's a couple of things that you can do. You can go to demo.zone. That's DIMO dot zone, ZONE, fun domain. Learn more about DIMO as a whole. You can go and check out other interviews and other texts and things that we've written and done and put out there on the website and learn more about that. You can follow us on Twitter too, DIMO_network. And you'll learn a lot about DIMO through our Twitter. It's probably our primary social channel. We share everything from technical updates to user updates and really get a big picture for like what it is that we're building.
Perfect. Alex, man, thank you very much for coming on the show. I mean, dude, you guys are literally taking technology to a whole new level. Everybody's talking about AI, but hardly anybody's really looking at their vehicle and saying, man, how can I make this better?
So
Yeah.
one cool thing that we want to do, I'll leave you with this. We are planning some AI related products as well. How great would it be to have an AI agent for your car and says, hey, I just got a engine light. What does that mean? Or am I still under warranty? Like, I forget when my warranty is up. Like, we think that the opportunity between auto ownership and AI is huge, and we're helping support that too.
Dude, I mean, it is huge. Before you know it, these cars better be driving us and telling us some information we need to know about them. I mean, that's really where we're heading here. That's where technology is going. You guys are at the forefront of that, so that's freaking amazing. One more time, ladies and gentlemen, DIMO.zone, DIMO.zone, or if you're in other parts of the world, that's a Z, right? That's how they do it in other parts of the world. So, Alex, thank you very much for coming on the show, ladies and gentlemen. That's all we got for you guys today. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace, and we're out.
It's over. Go home. Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast. But not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.com.